Previously, in episode 2 of The Eminence in Shadow, the lawless city was flooded by ghouls in the Red Moon Night. And getting this chance, the two emperor of the lawless city were going toe-to-toe with each other. But when the real goat showed up, both stops their little fight and goes to their own way to climb the Blood Tower to finish of the Blood Queen, but there. The Shadow Garden had also infiltrated the castle while Claire and Mary were also set to find Sid and the Blood Queen, but then they bumped into Juggernaut, so having no chance. Mary kissed Claire to suck out blood to gain power, and reveals she's a vampire to fight against the Emperor, but even so he was too powerful, but thankfully Shadow saved their lives from him. After which Mary revealed that Blood Queen killed herself because the blood moon enhances the power of a vampire. And she wasn't able to control her bloodlust and went on a rampage that continued for 3 days, which brought a catastrophe to the three kingdoms. But now Crimson is trying to bring back Elizabeth once again to show the might of the vampires. But before Crimson could finish his Momo dialogue while reviving Elizabeth, Shadow finished him off. Now, episode 3. So just as Shadow finished off that Crimson in a single hit, Shadow himself starts to wonder if Crimson was the real boss. Because he thought the powerful boss was at the top of the tower trying something to bring disaster to the three kingdom, so Shadow thought of checking out the basement this time and leaves. But he didn't saw that Elizabeth's heart had begun to bloom, and after that, Claire and Mary came to the top to find Elizabeth and Sid. But everyone was a goner there and something caught Claire off guard, and it was Elizabeth's heart. She was finally resurrected, and she took Claire as her first meal and bit off her neck. But Shadow Garden showed up to save Claire in the nick of time, and cuts off Elizabeth clearly and blasts off her head. Claire was near death, but she still had a shred of breathing left in her. But saving her would be difficult while fighting with Blood Queen, so Beta thought of stalling the time until Shadow arrives, while Beta thought Shadow must be occupied with something. So now it's up to her to hold off Elizabeth and save Claire until Shadow arrives. After that, Beta and the others gets in to cut off Elizabeth once more, but this time she used her own hands to stop the girls, but Beta frees them and blasted her into shreds again. But Mary knows that Elizabeth wakes up slowly from her sleep, and when she does, it's done for. Their Yuki was also observing Elizabeth, and their Juggernaut once again joins the fight and hits Elizabeth right on her face, but she threw him out like a small pebble. Queen's power was rising by seconds and she started to use blood as needles. In that attack the most injured guy becomes the Juggernaut. And Beta as well as the others barely managed to save their lives, and even after that massive attack, Elizabeth started to gather blood from all the people around to become even more powerful. Beta realized that they won't be able to fight Elizabeth for much longer, so she orders Rose, number 666, to take Claire and run away from there, but Rose still wanted to stay. So Beta reminded her of her wish, so Rose changed her decision, but it was too late. Elizabeth then began to control the girls' blood and began to turn them back into possessed ones. Shadow had previously returned those girls to normal, but now the effects of his power are fading, but unfortunately, this time Claire has begun to transform into a possessed one. But suddenly she woke up inside of her dream world and meets Aurora. Aurora tells Claire that her symptoms of being possessed were cured a long time ago because of him. Claire wanted to know about that person, but Aurora tells that she would meet him soon, but for now in time of adapting she is losing control and in due time she will transform into a full possessed. So Aurora decided to help her out, but Claire just can't digest the information she gave her, so Aurora tells her about the evolution theory to make her understand how monkeys turned into humans. But Claire just has no idea what she's talking about, so finally Aurora tells her that the two bloodlines of possessed and vampire blood are trying to adapt inside her. But unfortunately she doesn't know how to control it, so Aurora helps her out and a mark comes on Claire's arm that could help her control that power, so Claire was confused why'd she help her. So Aurora tells Claire that she belongs to Shadow, and then the reality began to break apart and Aurora took control of Claire's body for the time being. She instantly stopped the blood attack that Elizabeth was controlling, and the vast showdown of power fight began. Then she was about to use the signature move of Shadow, but unfortunately, Claire's body isn't strong enough to handle that power, but her work was almost done, because the real goat has showed up. He made a grand entrance and started to get on equal footing against the Blood Queen right from the start. But Beta was confused why Shadow isn't going all out even when he could strike down the Queen from that range. But a bit later she realized that Shadow is actually defending all the people there from the Queen. Beta fell for Shadow even more because he's so noble and kind. And Shadow was thinking that he can't lose even a single one, But bro was actually thinking about the gold that was shattering. Then Shadow jumps in for a head-to-head fight. And their fight was one spectacular fight, that even Elizabeth got impressed by his power, so Elizabeth prepared herself for her death. But their Shadow used an atomic recovery to turn all the ghouls back to normal and saved every single life, including Elizabeth. With that, everything has returned back to normal, and Claire was saying goodbye to Mary. But their Sid was still thinking that curing all those possessed in ghoul was easy because at the end they contained magic, but Claire was a different case that could not be cured. So while returning back to the academy, Claire tells Sid about her new power and she had to solve this mystery, so Sid gives her the confidence as a brother that he would always have her back. But right after returning back to their normal lifestyle in the academy, the Emperor of the White Tower from Lawless City, Yuki, followed Sid. So what's the purpose of Yuki that she followed Sid back to his academy? Subscribe the channel and hit the bell icon to watch the episode 4 of The Eminence in Shadow. Till then, take care.